The last point is to show up for your neighbors. Show up to the people that are in your community and let them know that rebuilding will start. That I'm here to help you rebuild the hope that you have lost in your life. There are people that are in our communities, in our streets, in our homes, in your family right now that have lost hope for the future. But Nehemiah says, I'm going to help you rebuild the walls that give us hope. And in our day, we understand that God is rebuilding hope in our lives. Listen to what happens. And as I told them about the gracious hand of my God upon me, and what the king had said to me, they replied, let us start building. And so they began the good work. God is calling us to show up in the lives of people who are hopeless, to show up in the lives of people that are hungry, who are homeless, who are depressed, who have lost everything. There are people in our own community right now at Bolingbrook that have lost hope, and God is asking you to be there for them, to just be present with them, because that's what gives us hope. When we know that God has sent someone to be with us. Going back to Peter's story. Ooh, watch this. Going back to Peter's story. Peter, in his hopelessness, as he said that he would show up to Jesus, denied Jesus 3 times, realized that he had lost the grace of God, that he had lost the favor of God. He felt that there was no more that God would want to do with him. And in that hopelessness, he hears the words from Mary, who heard from Jesus, who showed up out of the grave and said, call the other disciples and Peter. Do you know why he said, and Peter? Because when he says, and Peter, he's saying to Peter, I'm still going to show up in your life when you don't show up at all. Because it's not about your faithfulness to me, it's about my faithfulness to you. And Jesus says, I'm going to show up in your life. And after Jesus showed up in Peter's life, Peter was changed. He became a change maker. He went out, and we see it in the books of Acts, proclaiming, showing up for God in the world around him, in Jerusalem, in Samaria, in Judea, and in all the world. And now we are living in the reality of someone whose life was changed when Jesus showed up in their lives. And at the end of days, when God comes back down, when Jesus again shows up in the world, in his second showing up, come on, in his second showing, when Jesus comes back to earth, he'll look at us and say, well done, my good and faithful servants. And I'll paraphrase this. You showed up. You kept the faith. You ran the race. You showed up to your relationship with me. You showed up to the plans I had for you. You showed up for your neighbors. Well done, my good and faithful servant. And he'll show up, and he'll wipe every tear from our eye. He'll wipe away the hopelessness that we've had. He'll wipe away all the mistakes, all the disgrace, all the sin, and he will say, gone are the old ways of doing things. Behold, I am doing something new. Do you know what that means? He says, I am making a change. And as we wait for that change to come, he's saying, go and be my change makers in all the world. Go on the mission that I've showed you. Rebuild the hope that people have lost, and let them know that my grace is still sufficient. My hands are not too short to save. My grace extends to all of you by the blood of Jesus, who showed up. God in human form showed up for you so that you can show up and change the world.